welcome back to the Movie Marketing and Distribution Podcast powered by Usher U. My name is Alex Stolz, and as well as hosting this show, I am head of film at Usher U and run a company called Future of Film. Usher U is the smarter way to promote your films and catalogue with our automation, analytics and audience building tools, which are all designed to make your marketing and distribution easier, more cost effective and impactful. To find out more about what we do and access all of the other podcasts, sessions and free resources, just head over to usheru.com. I'll spell that. That is USHERU. That's usheru.com. So on this show, it is my job to speak with leading executives about all aspects of the business of getting films to audiences, and of course share these with you, our listeners. And in a rapidly changing entertainment landscape, what's changing? What are the new audience development, distribution and marketing strategies that are now proving effective? And it's my great pleasure today to welcome to the show someone who knows a whole lot about that, Tilane Jones. Tilane is president of Array, the multi-platform arts and social impact collective founded by Ava DuVernay, who Tilane has worked with now for over a decade. There, Tilane oversees the distribution of Array releasing titles, including the latest release, Split at the Root. Her credits as a producer are equally impressive, including the 4-time Emmy Award-winning 13th, Middle of Nowhere, This Is the Life, I Will Follow, August 28, A Day in the Life of a People, and the incredible Oscar-nominated, should have won, Selma. Tilane, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. I'm honored to speak with you. I love the title, Future of Film. Love that.
Thank you.
I'm glad there's people taking that arm to make sure that film lasts for us for a very long time. So honored to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's all up for grabs, it feels, at the moment. There's so many different opportunities and ways to get stories out there, whether it's a documentary or, a feature film or in different formats. And maybe we can get into that a bit more. But I wanted to start, if I may, just to ask you, I mentioned about the having worked with Ava DuVernay now for a number of years. Do you mind just telling us a little bit more about how that relationship started?
So I've worked with Ava for 15 years. I started working with her actually when she had a boutique PR and marketing agency that, really focused on the brown and Black communities here in the U.S. and around the world. And I had previously worked in the real estate industry for probably about 12 years. We had a market crash in real estate, and I was looking for something that was permanent. I had just decided, that maybe real estate wasn't for me. Maybe I needed to, switch careers. And so she happened to be looking for someone, an office manager, to help run the business. And so I was available. She interviewed me and I got the job. She also was in the midst of editing her first feature documentary, which is the film This Is the Life. And so I've really been able to watch her trajectory going from a publicist and a marketer to a filmmaker. But she still loves PR and marketing and is very, entrenched in all of the PR and marketing, across her own titles, across our company, across, the films that we distribute through Array Releasing. And so, for us, I think it's really ingrained in how important marketing is for, a company, a brand, a film, a television show, and it's something that we're really thinking about from the inception, the very beginning of, anything that we're producing or distributing. And so, that's really, how I started. It's what I love most about it, I think, is that I'm always learning. I feel like, there's so much I've learned and so much I still need to learn, about this industry. And like you said, it's ever changing. And that's what kind of makes it exciting.
Yeah. really exciting. And I love that, the bringing the marketing into the heart of everything. And I think that's what really makes, great producers and great filmmakers. So yeah, tell me some more about that, I guess. Tell me about Array. How you have lots of different aspects to the company. How do you describe Array to someone who doesn't know what you do?
I think you did a good job of summarizing it, but for me, I feel like we're an artist collective. With the focus on film and television, we amplify artists of color and women of all kinds. That's really our focus. And just, really working to, figure out how we can use film and television, in our everyday lives and in the world. And we do that amplification through our development and production arm, through our acquisition and distribution, through public programming, through education and understanding, and through our PR and marketing team across all of the projects that we work on.
Is there a particular well, I think you've already told me about the audience and the types of filmmakers you'd like to, or you specialize in. Tell me a little bit then about Array releasing and that process. Are you going out acquiring titles and then bringing them to audience? How does that normally work there?
I think that we do a lot of it in the traditional ways of acquiring and distributing a film. I watch films through film festivals, whether it's in person or virtually. I get referrals from other filmmakers. Filmmakers come directly to me. We all the time, there's someone telling me about a film, which I'm fortunate enough to, be able to kind of know a lot of people through my 15 years. But, I have friends that are in publicity. They'll say, hey, I'm publicizing this film and I think it's really interesting. And I think that it really fits Array's mission. And so, I'll reach out to the filmmakers, in hopes that they will want me to review their film for consideration. And then once we've started that process, it's really about getting to know the filmmaker and knowing what they want for their project. I think for me and for Ava, that's a top priority. It doesn't have to be the perfect film, but I think that it's important that the filmmaker has a voice and that we can see that within the film. Once I've met them and, figured out what their strategy is around their film, and if we feel like it's something that, is in line with, our overall work and something that we can execute for them, then we go to the next step, which is, an offer for their film. And then, luckily, with Array, we've had a tremendous partnership with Netflix. We're one of the few distribution companies that has a direct to Netflix deal. And so anything that we acquire within our slate has a life on Netflix. But we do things traditionally as well. Like I said, we have theatrical releases ahead of those, SVOD releases. And we work with a lot of universities. We work with Canopy, which is another streaming service here in the U.S. that works very closely with public libraries and educational institutions. And so really what our goal is to make sure that the work that we acquire reaches as many audiences as possible and anyone that wants to see it. And so, whether that's through, the theatrical model, whether it's through, streaming, whether it's through an educational institution, a museum, a community center, really we're about organizing together, right, in a very grassroots way in distributing these films. It started with partnering with small film festivals at the very beginning. It was 5 key film festivals where, they knew their markets. And so they were really helping us distribute these films in their specific markets. And so it's grown from there, in where we've been able to create this partnership with Netflix. But we still go back to that. We still, love partnering with film festivals. We still want to see, these films really have a robust life. And, we're marketing these films, but we're also marketing the filmmaker that's making this film, right? And so, our goal is to really make sure the film is seen and that filmmaker can continue to work. Which can be difficult, when you're talking about small independent films that, might have a lower budget, might not have the marketing budget that, major films, you have the poster of Spider-Man behind you, there's a lot of marketing dollars behind that film to make sure that it gets to audiences. And so, we just take a real grassroots approach to what our PR and marketing looks like for those titles when it comes to array releasing. And we really try to build an audience and a family. So we have a physical campus here in Los Angeles called Array Campus. And, we invite the filmmakers here and we purposely built a 50-seat screening room so that we were able to also screen films. And that includes our array releasing films so that there's really no barriers, to people actually being able to see these films. And we have our public programming arm, which allows us through our nonprofit to have many film screenings and many programming events free to the public as well. So again, it's really about kind of breaking those barriers and, within the life of a film and, everything that we have to kind of do to get to the very end, which is making sure it gets to audiences.
A lot to unpack there. And just for the record, I have some independent movies on my wall as well. So just
you do.
But yeah, no, it's fascinating. So tell me, I guess, about that audience. You're creating all these access points for these independent films, these new voices coming through. How are you getting that word out to the audience? Do you have is there a community that you're already sort of tapping into, or again, is it very much like a grassroots campaign?
I think it's multi-pronged, and part of that is absolutely the audience that we've cultivated, over the past decade. We have 40 plus titles, through our releasing pillar. And then we have our own work that we do, as independent creators, as, development and production executives with film and television. So we have that audience as well, with, like you said, Ava's films like Selma, 13th, her series When They See Us. And so we also tap into that audience. And again, Partnerships are huge, I think, in, being successful and having, those organizations that are within the communities that we think that this film is going to service. So partnerships are huge for us as well. I think it's really a multi-pronged kind of approach. And then, of course, we have our own PR and marketing team who's amazing. And so, we very much lean on publicity. We very much lean on social media as part of one of the tools that we're able to use. Just making sure that we're doing as much as possible to make as loud of noise as possible for whatever project we're working on. So it's never just one approach, right? You're never going to reach everyone with just one approach. And so we really try to use everything that is possible to get those out there. The only thing that we really have challenges with is being able to buy huge ads. Again, we're a grassroots independent distribution company. And so, those are budgets that we don't have. And so we have to really think outside of the box and figure out other ways that we can, really make some noise. And so a lot of that is very much in a grassroots way.
No Super Bowl ads this weekend.
No, unfortunately, I wish. Yeah, no major huge billboards or, commercials, which would be amazing and wonderful, if we could do that. But, just because of budget restrictions, it makes it difficult. And also, I think it just makes us more resourceful. We just have to find other ways. We have to find other ways to really, get the message out there, and which makes us lean into community, which really makes us lean into, again, those partnerships with organizations and really serving our community, which is, part of our mission and part of our work and part of what we want to do. And so it really aligns, with everything that we do.
So that community, how close are you to it in the sense, are you able to, do you have like an email list you can reach out to? Do you have this is, I wouldn't necessarily expect you to have this, but as a working in distribution for a number of years, it's an interesting space where often you don't know who your customers are. Like most industries, you'd say, these are my top 1,000 customers or something like that. And it's hard, right, in distribution, because you've got the theaters in between you, you've got platforms in between you. But it feels like as a Ray, you're a bit closer to that end user, if you like. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair. And we like that. I think the best part of my journey is that I've been able to see it from, where it was 3 people, right, all the way to where it is now. And so, in that growth, yes, email list, social media is huge. We've been around since before there was this thing called social media. And so when it did become a thing, we were on every platform, the Facebooks and the Twitters and Instagram and now TikTok. And so, yeah, definitely, leaning into touching the audience in that way with email blasts, with social media, and then the public programming. I think, through our nonprofit, we have a space, right, which was really important for us, really important for Ava, to actually have a space where artists of color and women could come together and be together. And that helps us to really create audience and keep audience, right? Because we're constantly having public programming here in our space, even during COVID, when it was the most difficult time to be able to gather and come together. We figured out a way to do drive-ins where people could safely stay in their vehicles and still watch movies together, right? Those were some of the best times. I think those are the times that really kept us going during that time when you couldn't have community and you couldn't have gatherings, was really figuring out, this huge pandemic that's affecting the whole world. How can we keep our community together? And so we came up with the concept of drive-ins, something that is decades old, and you don't even find drive-ins in very many places anymore. And so, figuring out how to do a pop-up screen and renting out a parking lot and, moving the cars in, like, how can we keep everyone safe? And, so being able to do that and just, making sure that our community is staying together and feeding that community, helping us, continue on, I think, is super important. So yes, in that aspect of it, we definitely have, a closer reach into, our audience and our community because, we're creating a place and a space for them to be.
Sounds amazing. Can I just, a particular question just out of that, it's just a bit more specific. TikTok's come up a few times on this show recently as a marketing tool, and there's people are unsure how effective it is. Tell me, how are you finding that? Are you finding success in that using TikTok?
Yeah, it's very new for us. I think Array joined in 2022. And so we're lucky to have a social media coordinator, Janine, who's amazing. And, she loves it. And so, to kind of have someone who is of the generation that, really enjoys TikTok and can kind of really be creative and take grasp of it. I think that is great. But at this point, how effective it is, I'm not sure, because again, we've just recently joined. And so we see the boost in the numbers, but at this point, do we know how much of that is transferring over to actually audiences watching, is something that we'll have to find out. I mean, we have, a following definitely on Twitter and on Instagram, and something that we've been doing, over the years, as well as Facebook. And so, you can kind of see where that's kind of transferring over, whether we're having a Twitter watch party online, or we're having an IG conversation, and bringing community together in that way. I think that you kind of see it a little bit more on those platforms just because we've been on them longer, right? And we've been able to really cultivate that audience. And TikTok is just another place and space where, we hope to be able to develop audiences. And so I'll get back to you and I'll let you know in a year from now.
Yeah, please.
If it's working out.
I think that's key though, having someone who understands it, doing it. That's a strong start. You mentioned about that, bringing the measuring how effective TikTok is. Do you use other forms of data in your work, just sort of to see what's working and what's not?
Yeah, we definitely look at analytics in what's working and what's not working, and adjusting campaigns from there. And it may be something that we're doing. I think what's unique about us, for example, with Array Releasing is that because we are a smaller distributor, our focus is very much on the films and kind of how we market them. And so one campaign may not be the same, for every single title. So we're trying different things each time, depending on the title. And so, analytics does help with that and kind of how, we're marketing to the audience and whether it's working or whether it's not working. And those things that are working and are strong, like, the platform Letterbox. It's really great for our films and our independent films. And, because we see that we're creating an audience there and it's really helping create that audience, we're transferring that to a lot of the titles that we're working on. And so it's really, I think it's really using what works and getting rid of what doesn't. And it's a lesson every single time, we're doing anything marketing wise with any project that we're working on. What's most impactful, I think. What can we get the most bang for the buck is, I think, the same.
And talking this, you used the word impact there, or impactful. What about the social impact side of things? And that's part of your mission, and it's part of the identity of Array, of course. So tell me, how does that work, and how do you measure the effects of that?
It works in several different ways. It's across every single one of our pillars and all of the work that we do. An example is Array Filmworks, which is our development and production arm, and the television show Queen Sugar. Through Queen Sugar, seven seasons of Queen Sugar, every director was a woman director. And we can directly see the impact that it's had on the industry, because many of those women had either stopped, working in the industry. They were teachers or educators or writers, instead of being, the filmmaker that they started out to be. And many of them were independent filmmakers. And so to be able to allow them to actually work on a television production allowed them to work on other television productions, right? That was a barrier to entry, because the only way you could get, or you can get, a television show is if you have already worked on a television show, right? And so that part of it, it really doesn't make sense. It's definitely a barrier to being able to create television shows and be a part of that industry. And so the fact that Ava decided that every single episode would be shot by another woman director just allowed those women to be able to come into a part of the industry that they weren't invited into or couldn't get access to. And you see the direct correlation of that, because every single one of those women is now directing television, multiple television shows, right? Huge television shows. And that's 40 plus women that now have this opportunity that did not have this opportunity at the beginning of Queen Sugar. And so, seeing things like that, you can physically see the impact of that. We also have a below the line database called Array Crew, which is through our nonprofit Array Alliance. And that is a platform and a database that helps hiring managers meet new below the line talent. We have 10,000 plus crew members within that platform. We have hundreds of television productions, film productions that are within that platform, and every single studio is part of this platform, which is huge. They're all within this platform. They're all hiring from this platform. And so we're able to kind of see the impact there as well, because, more people, again, just taking down that barrier to entry, are able to be at least seen, right? It maybe not hired, but at least seen. They're meeting new people. They're seeing people who have the experience that they need, that they may not necessarily had exposure to prior to using the platform Array Crew. And so those are really different ways that we're able to see where the impact comes from. And, because Array Crew is a database, we are able to see analytics. We are able to see certain things, within the platform, which I think has been, helpful in just, amping up the database and getting crew to want to join. And it is based here in the US and Canada, but getting them to join, but then also, in how users who are the hiring managers, producers, department heads, within a production, how they're using it as well.
Wow, that's very impressive and very practical, right? It's like a very practical tool that can make a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. It's very practical. We on purpose. I mean, and this is something that we built. I mean, we're not tech people, but we knew that it was something that was needed. A lot of people in the industry kind of use Excel docs, or they use, referrals from their friends. And so that really makes your circle very small. And so, that's where it started, with kind of, one production call sheet, where we were like, we're going to put all of our call sheets in here, every person that we have, and expand it from there, right? And so we purposely made sure that it was easy to use for users, whether it's the crew member or it's the department head. Very easy to use, right? It's right there for them. They can create their candidate list. They can reach out to those candidates directly through the platform or outside of the platform if they choose to. And so, yes, it seems like an easy thing to think of. I think it's the simplest things that, you just need the person to execute it, right? You just need, that organization or that person that's going to develop and create this easy thing, for people to be able to use, and people want to use it.
You're listening to the Movie Marketing and Distribution podcast, powered by UsherU. How is your marketing strategy right now? Are there areas you want to improve? Or perhaps you are looking for some fresh inspiration and ideas on how to remain ahead of the curve? Well, the UsherU Marketing Scorecard is a completely free resource to identify your marketing strengths and opportunities in less than 5 minutes. Head over to scorecard.usheru.com and you'll receive a personalized report on your marketing, what's working well, areas of improvement, and quick wins. So that's scorecard.usheru.com. Score your marketing today with UsherU at scorecard.usheru.com. And now back to the show. I was doing a little bit of research before this call, and I think I saw a quote from you, and I'm going to misquote you probably now, but it was something around not waiting for permission. Just, don't wait to be asked to do something. Just go ahead and do it. And it feels like that sort of work is like everyone could sort of say, well, you should do it. Someone should do that, But obviously Array went ahead and did it themselves. So, yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think, what we're really trying to do is not really recreate the wheel. We want to really amplify and help those organizations that are already really doing the work. But then, when there's spaces and there's needs that we see, we want to conquer that, right? Again, removing the barriers. We want to, put things in place that we feel are going to really help the industry continue to grow.
Can we talk a little bit about the latest release, Split at the Root, and just be interested to hear about the strategy for that release and the marketing and the campaign.
Yeah. So the film will be on Netflix on March 3rd. And it's a moving documentary that talks about the separation of families at the border. It is, focused on two families and an organization that actually started with one person, finding out that these families were being separated and really figuring out the system and how, paying someone's bail could help them get families put back together. And so, again, it's a moving documentary. We think that, especially now with the political landscape here in America and the fact that families are being separated for literally just wanting to have a better life. The United States stands on, creating a place and space where people can have freedoms and have a better life. And the fact that our government is doing this to families, it's an atrocity. And so, we're super excited to be working on this film, super excited for it to be able to be on Netflix, the kind of the plan for it is semi-theatrical, then the SVOD on Netflix, and really putting a thoughtful marketing campaign around it. So we're really excited to be working on it.
Who's the main audience or main audiences do you see for the film?
Honestly, I think it's all audiences, to be honest, because this is a crisis and it can affect not just those families that are at the border, but just us as Americans, period, that this is allowed to happen. This can, go into communities, right, where they're separating families for reasons, for small reasons, right? And so, I think that there isn't just one audience for this film. I think it's all audiences, right? If you are a citizen of any country, I think that you should be watching this film, right? To, just see how politics, really affects your day-to-day life, how it can tear a family apart. It's a scary feeling, to know that, this is something that can happen. So I think I don't feel like there's a specific audience for it. I really feel like everyone should be seeing this film, just to see where we are. And especially with, elections coming up, it's really important for us to know, these people that we're putting in elective offices, what are they doing? How are they helping us? How are they doing their jobs, right? And how is that really affecting us?
Have you got in terms of the sort of the publicity side for the release, are there different public interviews with the directors, I suppose, is obviously one of the will be ongoing, but have you got any other sort of other initiatives?
We definitely, a lot of our publicity campaigns are, because we're a company that is founded by a filmmaker. So, a lot of times the focus is on the filmmaker. But what's unique about this title is that the executive producer is one of the executive producers is Rosario Dawson. And also the families. We have the families and the organization, which, when you have smaller independent films, sometimes you don't have kind of that star actor that you might have in a larger title. And so, the fact that we're able to work with the filmmaker, work with the executive producers, and also the families and the organizations themselves, I think it just really helps the overall publicity plan for the film, because, there's really more ways of telling the story, right? And getting exposure, for the film, but really the topic within the film, right? And that's also part of the goal, and the goal of the filmmaker is to make sure that, especially in documentaries are very personal stories, that have, a social, normally have some type of social impact, through line within them. And so, I think it's really important for us to also get the messaging out about the film itself and the topic that it's tackling.
Yeah. How much, I mean, amazing to have Netflix on board. I mean, incredible, right? That having that reach, but how difficult can it be, I suppose, sometimes when you have this streaming world where everyone can just choose, there's so much content available at any time and there's no kind of urgency, like I've got to watch it now. I guess how important is the theatrical still for creating that sort of moment around the release for you? Is that still key?
Yeah, I think it's the window that's super important, and kind of, when we do have theatricals, that they be as close as possible to the Netflix release, because, if it is going to have an impact, that's really where the impact is going to come from. And so, I do think it's important, for films to have, again, that space, especially for a film like Split at the Root, the space where people can come together and actually talk about the film, right? Versus, you kind of watch it, kind of you're in your own space, you're watching it, you're not really having that conversation and that core conversation around the topics of the films. You might on social media, maybe you might tell a friend about it, but to have it in a theater where you might have, anywhere from 50 to 100 people that are watching this same thing at the same time, and then to have a conversation about it after, and like really galvanize and activate those people that are watching it. I think it can be important, and it really depends on the title of the film as well, on which film you're marketing. And so for a film like Split the Root, I do think it's important.
You mentioned the windows there before, the importance of having a short window before the Netflix release. How is that working? Are theaters kind of comfortable with that now?
Yeah. I think, and each, again, like I said previously, each film, the campaign has to be different, right? It really can't always be kind of that cookie cutter type of campaign. And so for us, because our titles are, traditionally independent titles that are smaller titles, that's what works best for us. That's what works best for our films is, having a shorter window where, the reviews that we're receiving, the interviews that we're having in press, the theatrical releases can be more impactful, right? When it comes to the larger release, which traditionally is the SVOD release. And so for us and for our titles, definitely having, like a 60-day window, is what works best for us. Traditionally, sometimes it works for theaters and sometimes it doesn't. My job is just to really reach out to every theater that I can possibly, art house theater or traditional theater, and, hopefully it works for their schedule. And I think that, with COVID and kind of the change in audiences, theaters are thinking about it a little bit differently, because we are a resource to be able to give them content. I think, there are definitely some theaters that are game for kind of doing something a little different.
It makes sense. Looking back, Tilane, on all the campaigns you've worked on, what have been some of the highlights? And if you're brave, what are ones where you feel like you've learned something or sort of stand out for any reason?
Yeah. I learned something from all of them, to be honest. I don't think that there's been a campaign that, I haven't learned something on. I guess it just depends on your perspective and what is important for you within a campaign. And so, it's really hard to say, which one is my favorite. I work so closely with releasing. So of course, I work really closely with our PR and marketing department. So all of those campaigns to me are super important. But we've had some amazing campaigns for, films like Selma and 13th and, all of those, productions that we worked on, those have, huge campaigns that are amazing and just great to see. My favorite part of campaigning period is brainstorming. And so, when you sit with, all the people that are a part of the process and you brainstorm what a marketing campaign is going to be, and then you select what those things are going to be, what you're going to execute, and then to actually see it come true, like that is to me amazing, right? Because all these brains have come together. They've, thought of this idea. They've, we've gone through all the steps to make it happen, and then to see it, and then to see audiences' faces when they've seen, this work. And so, yeah, I know why it's difficult for people to say, just one campaign or, one specific campaign. And so,
yeah, I understand. It's unfair. It's an unfair question, but can you tell me more about, like your kids, they're all your favorites, but, tell me about that brainstorming session. Give me an insight into how that works, what that looks like. Do you have a whiteboard? Are you kind of writing down strap lines or positioning and audiences? That sounds really exciting.
I'm old school, so I like paper and pen. So definitely paper and pen. Usually, we're sitting down with our founder, Ava, the marketing team, the PR team, our programming team, our educational team. We're all sitting down together and like really kind of mapping out, what a campaign might look like, depending on what we're working on. For me in releasing, I'm sitting down with, our PR marketing team, Ava, also sitting down with the filmmaker, and proposing to them what we feel like the marketing campaign is, but really listening to them. And again, that very first conversation, and listening to them about what their, goals and dreams are for their film, and how they see it going to audiences, and hearing what their, thoughts are, and what, they feel like should be integrated. And so really taking all those pieces and, and then on the larger projects where we will have studio backing, those marketing departments, right? And hearing those marketing departments and like what their ideas are. I'm just there listening. I mean, yes, kind of giving my input as well, but to me, that brainstorming and figuring out, what the plan is going to be is really intriguing, because then you actually get to see it. And that is like amazing and huge, working, the final season of Queen Sugar and working with Jeff Tobler and working with OWN, and seeing everything that we were able to do, in that final season. It's like, everything from, live walls with Queen Sugar on it to, just seeing audiences like, watching the episodes and, watching their comments on Twitter and, all those things. Like I follow all of that. I want to be a part of all of that, because it just makes you feel a part of, even though you're not, on set in actually, physical production or any of those things, or in the writer's room or in the editing booth, it just makes you feel like you're a part of the whole process.
Technical question, do you come up with a positioning statement for the campaigns, for titles?
Yeah. I don't know if it's a positioning statement. I mean, I definitely think that it's, what the common goal is, of course, and really figuring out, okay, this is kind of the angle of the film, and this is how we're going to reach audiences. And so I guess that would be a positioning statement, and then, just executing from there.
Amazing. Well, I'd love to, I'd love to be a fly on the wall on one of those sessions. It sounds amazing. So Tilane, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I think there's so many valuable insights today. I'd just like to end with a question, just asking you what's exciting you about the future of film, the future of the industry. Yeah, what excites you?
Yeah, I really think what excites me is the new generation of creators, and seeing what they're coming up with. I mean, when I started in the industry, digital was very new. DCPs were super new, and now they're everywhere, and that's what really everyone operates on. And so just over the 15 years and seeing that progression, it's exciting to see, what new artists are going to do with everything that they have at their disposal, social media, being able to film a film on your camera, on your phone, all those different things. And so, that just really excites me. What excites me also is that, little by little, the industry is opening up and we're able to see more artists from around the world, participate in our industry. And so to see what that craft and what that work is going to look like, to me is very exciting as well.
Tilane, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you so much, Alex, for having me.
You've been listening to the Movie Marketing and Distribution Podcast, powered by UsherU. If you want to know more about how UsherU can transform your marketing and distribution, just head over to usheru.com, or why not drop me an email at alex@usheru.com. But in the meantime, thank you again for listening, and look forward to welcoming you back on the podcast very soon.